Hello, and thanks for clicking on the link to watch this video. And we're going to figure out how best to apply owner's time to a job. All right. So we're looking at the job profitability detail report. I did start out with an estimate. If I go to the estimate for this job I'm doing for Michelle, it's the one I've been using for all these short videos. I actually added mileage. I don't know if you actually would do things like that for contractors, really up to you, but there's a whole discussion of passing through time and expense, materials, etc. versus true complete contract job costing within QuickBooks. If you already have the estimate, it's a fixed fee or fixed bid, they signed on it, you're not really going to pass anything through to them. You're just going to you're going to create an invoice for that. You're going to create an invoice from the estimate, maybe even progress bill against it, because that's what they agreed to pay. So you're not really passing it through to the customer if they already agreed on it. So in this case, everything I do on the cost side, I want to use items, right? Not an expense account, etc., because that'll show up as a no item row on my job reports. So you have to ask yourself, and maybe it's part of a larger discussion, if I'm really looking at complete and accurate job profitability and job estimate versus actual reports, for example, based on the original estimate and the costs I'm incurring, you got to use items throughout the whole process. And in many cases, two-sided items, which are in other videos you'll find on the site. So let's talk about just applying owner time to this particular job. So in my chart of accounts, I have an account set up, an expense account called owner time cost allocation. And since I need to use items, I went to the item list and I created an item called owner's time allocated, and it's linked to that expense account. Now you might want to set this up as a two-sided item, right? So you can have the cost as well as the revenue. But in this case, it's, for this example, sometimes a single-sided is fine, and it's going to hit this expense account, right? Because I'm not going to actually use the expense tab on the check. And I've already given kind of away the trick. You are going to use a $0 check, right? The old Sleater trick. So banking right checks. And in this case, I'm going to choose, myself. I'm the owner of the business. I set myself up as a vendor, right? And I actually put myself in as time. I'm not bringing that in, but you could, right? Because if you do a timesheet or something like that, you can bring in time to a check or a bill or credit card charge, what have you. You'll get the pop-up. But in this case, I'm just going back and I'm going to apply the time as cost to the job. I'm not going to use expenses because, again, I don't want the no item at the bottom of my job profitability or my job estimate versus actual detail report. So I am going to use the expenses tab, however, to do a $0 check. So first off, in the expenses tab, I'm going to find that cost allocation expense account I created. And I'm trying to remember exactly what I called it. I think it was owner time cost allocation, right? And let's say it's $1,500, but I'm going to actually put this in as a negative, okay? And I'm not going to assign the job to this expense line because I don't want it to show up. If I did assign a job to the expense line, you would see it in a no item row on the job profitability report. Okay, so you can assign a class if you want, whatever. So here's the kind of offsetting, if you will. And on the items tab, I'm going to choose that item that I created to track the owner's, I believe it was another charge item. Yeah, owner's time allocated. This is going to be a positive amount for that same $1,500 because it's a $0 check, right? And in this case, I am going to choose the job. And click recalculate at the bottom. So it's a $0 check. Click save and close. And now when I go to my job profitability report, I will have owner's time allocated as cost, so it's been applied to the job, and yet I don't have a no item row here. We don't want a no item row here if you're really relying on the job detail reports. Okay, so it's a larger discussion. Ask yourself the question, and we'll have a video on that, reimbursed expense versus true contractor reporting. But in my case, I don't want a no item, so I want to use items on everything. Okay, if I use an expense account linked to a job, it's going to show up on the job reports as no item. So make sure that you have that in your mind when you're going through and doing job costing in QuickBooks. Anyway, that's how you allocate owner time to a job, and I hope that was helpful. Have a great day.